All right, welcome to the live stream, everybody. As always, feel free to ask any questions about the settings and features about the MDX Algo indicators. I will do my best to answer them. I don't always have the answers, but hopefully someone in the group will if there's anything I can't answer that. But with that, let's hop right into a little bit of Bitcoin analysis to get the ball rolling here. I'll do a little bit of my own analysis, then I'll bring up the indicators. But this is my weekly chart, so this is zoomed right out here. And you guys who have been tuning into these live streams and my videos know I was pointing out a few important levels in the market. One was this high that we had back here. And again, this is a weekly chart, so these highs do carry a little bit of weight to them. The fact that we broke relatively easily above this resistance here, and even this next little bit of resistance on the weekly, we have been consolidating above it for about 2 weeks now. And the level that I've really been watching is this 25.2, 25.3, somewhere in there. We have someone who just joined, got a little bit of feedback. If you don't mind, if you aren't speaking, just mute your microphones just so feel free to hop in at any time, you guys. Just sometimes people get a little bit of feedback, so keep it muted unless talking, I suppose. There's also a chat box on the side if you'd rather chat in there. But as I was mentioning, kind of looking at this high back here, that's the important level of resistance that I've been watching for a while now, and you guys will probably be aware why. But I was pointing out that we had this low here, and then we set a lower low. So our highest point between those two levels was this area right here. And I quite often like to point out the whole wick area, a bit of a kill zone, so not just the very top of the candles, but taking into consideration this whole wick area back here. That's really right where we got rejected so far. That is a perfect touch point lining up with the candle bodies back here on the weekly. So there is a little bit of a warning sign here, just that, we're starting to respect an important level there as resistance. I was really expecting us to get all the way up towards 25K, and I still... part of me thinks that we will still actually break above this level. Even if it is going to get rejected, it would just make a lot of sense that we get a bit of a swing fail there, just a failed break attempt, and then get rejected, and then trend down a little bit lower and getting some kind of a retest down lower. But obviously we're going to have to see what happens. I think that would actually make a lot of sense as well to get some kind of a pullback. Just if I hop over to my daily chart, I was pointing out that, we haven't even dropped our current local range here. I'm going to say that the bottom is around 22.3K, somewhere in there. If we do end up dropping that level, then I think it makes sense that we test quite a bit lower down to the bottom of this range back here. The good news is that Bitcoin, since we did get this little bit of a consolidation, even though it wasn't a ton, but at least a few days of trading action there, it's nice that Bitcoin has formed a little bit of structure. So if we do drop these levels and we drop this support level, I think that at least Bitcoin's not in a horrible position because we do have that structure there. On top of that, just want to clean up a couple lines here. Another thing that would be okay about that is I think it would line up nicely if we end up trending down a little bit and retesting this downward sloping resistance line. And this is a logarithmic chart, but on the weekly, that's just basically connecting this touch point here, this touch point here. And that would be a beautiful retest. As you guys know, what we love to see on this channel is I love to see resistance flip into support. So I think the fact that this would line up quite well with our next horizontal level, at least it could line up quite nicely there. I think that's going to be an important level for the market if we do pull down to those levels. But like I said, we're going to have to see what happens, because part of me is thinking that, there is so many people during this whole rally claiming that, we are very overextended, and they're not wrong. I mean, you can just look at some of the indicators. We're obviously getting a whole bunch of warning signals flashing at us. But a lot of people are very desperate to short the reversal of this move. And I think this level that just basically got up to the bottom of it, but all the way up to this swing fail target here, I think there's so many people looking for a short here that there's actually the possibility that we just get a squeeze right through that just to screw over as many people as possible, unexpected, even if it's just a quick wick and then shut right back down. That's something that I just want to draw your attention to be aware of, that I don't necessarily want to short this level. And I've been pretty vocal about that for quite a while on this channel. Yes, I absolutely see the reason why we could dump down quite a ways, or even further. We could really end up retesting the lows that we've set so far in this cycle, but I'm just not as comfortable right now betting against the bulls, being that we are starting to form these support levels, a little bit of structure in the charts and that sort of thing. So I'm just a little hesitant to short. Not to say that there isn't money to be made there. Again, I totally see reasons why this chart could end up turning quite ugly quite quickly. And one of the reasons is, again, just looking at these indicators. So this is my daily chart. We have the oscillator 4 up here. I mean, we have a bearish pivot point as well as regular bearish divergence right around the kind of after we touch the top of that band. So getting a nice pullback there. As well as the oscillator 5 down here, we have overbought big red dot on the indicator there in overbought territory, as well as a regular bearish divergence. And then even bringing the RSI into this. I know I don't look at the RSI a ton anymore, ever since the latest updates on the MDX Algo indicators, but this is quite a bearish divergence looking on the daily chart here on the RSI. I mean, that went from way overbought territory and now we're getting back down into regular territory here. That's quite a harsh fall as far as the RSI goes. So, and we're just kind of trading sideways while that's happening. So I absolutely see the reasoning behind the fact that we could be ending up taking a little bit of a retrace. But overall, I don't think Bitcoin's in that bad of a position. The fact that we cleared some of this very harsh resistance and have consolidated above that level, and again, just forming that bit of support. If I bring up the Algo 3 as well, this is the daily, so then our trend confluence here would be based off the 3-day. Even all of these larger time frames on the indicator, you guys know one of my favorite things about the Algo 3 indicator is the trend confluence, just how we're able to look at one chart but then get a overall view of an even bigger time frame, and that's where the 3-day confluence comes in here. But a lot of different time frames, we're starting to see these bullish flips, and so that's just another thing where we have EMAs. We got trend confluence, we have structure, we have a lot of things lining up that could end up just providing some support for Bitcoin now. Even if we end up dropping back to our lows, I mean, you can see that the indicator itself is mapping out this little bit of a green box here as just a bit of a demand zone. So something to take into consideration there. Zooming into my 4-hour here on a different chart. This is no longer my logarithmic. But I've been pointing out on the private Discord here for quite a while now. A lot of you guys know what I'm going to say is that I don't really want to flip bearish until we at least drop our local support. And I'm looking at that as this purple line around 22.3 thousand. I wasn't willing to flip short, you know, all these times. I mean, a lot of people are very quick to flip bearish. You know, we start selling off and then people start thinking, you know, maybe we have some kind of an upward trend line like that, which broke, and now we're going to get a massive dump from this move here. And obviously that when we got near that horizontal support, it just ended up getting bought back up. So a lot of people were quick to start selling and shorting into support. And that's just kind of, even though, yes, I see that we have this upward sloping trend line, and it's got 3 nice touch points too, you guys. I got to give this trend line a little bit of credit here. There's definitely some very valid touch points along it. So the fact that we managed to get a candle body close below it, another candle close below it, I mean, yeah, absolutely, we could just be starting to take a bit of a tumble. But again, I'm not going to flip bearish till we at least drop this local support. And as I said, even if we drop that level, I mean, we did build this support back here. And if I bring up the Algo 3 on the 4-hour here as well, I mean, that lines up pretty perfect with the area I'm watching. You know, I'm watching for this purple line here, and we have a very nice, juicy demand zone here, this green box that's been mapped out by the Algo 3. So it's nice to see that we're getting that. And on top of that, I do have my colors of my candles inverted here, and they're already starting to flash quite bright green. And that's just another good sign that, you know, it might be a good time to start buying, because when I have the inverted colors, it's going to be telling you, you know, red candles are going to be a bit of a warning that, hey, time to start taking profits if you're long. Just like now, if you're short, hey, it might be good to start taking profits because things are turning green now. I'm just going to take a look at some of the settings that I have. Actually, before I get into that, another thing is just looking up at the oscillator 4 on the 4 hour here. You can see that it's showing that we may have some trend exhaustion, and that's coming in right at the bottom of the band here. And as well, the oscillator 5 down here is getting into that oversold territory where things are starting to flash green at us a little bit. So it's probably only a matter of time until we get a big green dot kind of coming in down there. It's just showing that we might be a little bit oversold, and especially if we end up getting closer to this trend confluence. So again, this is the 4 hour chart. I'm not sure what time frame the confluence actually comes from on the 4 hour. I just have it on the automatic settings, so I don't have to worry about that. But that's just more support that's coming in, catching up to the price of Bitcoin. So as we trade sideways, that's where yesterday, I don't know if any of you saw that I was talking about a possible time-based correction, and that's where we don't necessarily need the price to correct downwards in a harsh manner, that we might just end up consolidating sideways, just building the structure just like we did here. You know, everyone thought at this level that we were extremely overbought, overextended, and that we had to pull back drastically. Well, it never happened, and just like what I'm looking at now, yes, it could absolutely happen, but just consider the fact that maybe we're just going to consolidate sideways, wait for some indicators like this to catch up to the price, and then end up pushing us a little bit higher. But we're going to have to see what happens, because the Algo 3 here also showing a lot of supply at these levels. That's these red boxes here. So obviously there is some resistance up ahead, and that's actually lining up perfectly with, I was pointing out that lower high on the daily time frame. That's actually just lining up with what the Algo 3 is showing us on the 4 hour chart here, basically. So very cool there. Before I go any further, I just want to say, if anybody is having any issues with the indicators visually or anything like that, just make sure that your visual order is set to bring to front. I know sometimes your candles can look a little funny, the colors get a little off or they disappear, whatever. That can solve that issue. And as well, if you have in your settings on the Algo 3, if you're using this supply and demand feature, and that would be my red and green boxes here, I've changed the colors to just look at it the way I want to, but you can right click on the side here and click scale price chart only. So just make sure those two things are active if you're having any issues with your charts looking different or anything like that. But with that, does anybody have any questions about the indicators, about the features, about my settings, which I'll go into in a little bit here as well? Feel free to take the floor if anybody wants to jump in here. Ask some questions, give your opinions. And if not, I'm just going to jump into my settings and start showing what I am, the way I set it up, kind of. So most of you guys are well aware that I like to trade on degenerate time frames. So I'm usually looking at the 5-minute or the 15-minute charts. And the beautiful thing about these indicators is I automatically get the 1 hour trend confluence. So that would be this red squiggly line, which has been acting as strong resistance basically since we've topped out on this little rally here. So it's just very cool how you can be on so many different time frames. You can be on trading whatever time frame chart you want, but you don't have to flip flop between a bunch of charts, and you can just you have the confluence of greater time frames right at your right on your charts for you, so you don't have to, like I said, just jumping around between different charts. So that's very cool. So the way I look at this is I like to try and get my entries when I'm looking for positions on the 5-minute, 15-minute, anything like that. I try to get my entries very close to the trend confluence, just because then the way I look at it is I'm more so trading the 1 hour chart and just the confluence of it. But I'm just picking more of a pinpoint accurate entry on a shorter time frame. So that's where, right now we have the 1 hour trend confluence coming down as resistance. We also have these supply zones, these red boxes that the Algo 3 has mapped out. So if we start kind of trading up to these levels, let's say the indicator starts catching up to us, that's where we got to see how the price is going to react. But when we start to see, let's say the price, for example, getting up to those levels, we have the confluence coming in, the indicator just pointing out potential resistance, we'd probably start seeing some warnings or that kind of thing on the indicator as well. The candles will most likely start just turning a bright red, getting tongue-tied, rather than, for example, bright green as we're getting near support. So when you start to see all those things lining up, that's where it makes for a beautiful entry. As well, when you have the Oscillator 4 and Oscillator 5 lining up with the Algo 3, I absolutely love when you end up getting basically all three indicators lining up together. And a good example, I mean, this might not play out because nothing's ever going to be absolutely perfect. But, back here, we did have this pivot point. We had bright green candles. It was saying to take profit if you were in a short. As well, the Oscillator 5 was starting to flip bullish. Now, this never played out perfectly. You can see that it ended up flipping into red and just giving us some warning signals like these blue triangles here, just a potential top there. Never got a beautiful move off of having all three of these lined up, but quite often that will turn into such a powerful move when you have everything lining up like that, especially if you have, let's say I had my own horizontal support level kind of coming in at this level, and then we start to see all this confluence from all three indicators. That's when you start to get some beautiful entry potential when you use these all together. So like I said, I normally like being on the 5 or the 15-minute chart with the hourly trend confluence. A lot of you will probably notice that I don't actually have my long and short signals on right now. I'm actually just going to clean things up a little bit, get rid of some drawings here. Let's even zoom out to an hourly here. Actually, that's nice. We're getting the Oscillator 4 here is showing a potential bullish pivot near the bottom of the bands here. The hourly Algo 3 is telling us to take profits if we were in a short position at this level. Candles are flipping bright green. The Oscillator 5 doesn't have a nice big green dot yet. That's something that I would love to see as a little extra confluence at this level. But nice to see that, maybe the selling is about to start slowing down at least, hopefully. See how that goes. I'm just going to bring up my settings here. Get rid of the other indicators. So like I said, you'll notice that I don't actually have the long and short signals on here. That's totally personal preference. Sometimes I turn them on, sometimes I turn them off. Let's see, where are they? There they are. They're starting to show up. Just one thing for me is that I tend to get FOMO sometimes, and I know that about myself. So when I see these signals come into play, I am very likely to take them with and maybe overlooking some of my own analysis. So that's where I like to do my own analysis before I start bringing too many things from the indicators into play. Because at the end of the day, I absolutely love these indicators. I basically don't use any other ones at this point. The RSI very randomly I'll use, but honestly, the Oscillator 5 just seems like a much better version of the RSI anyways. But at the end of the day, I like to trust price structure first and then looking at the indicators later for that confluence or just that clarification, I suppose. But so I like to do my own analysis before I turn on these signals. But quite often I'll leave a lot of these other things on here. Market flow, that's this very faint gray line. I don't know if you can see my cursor following it there. Just basically showing the overall flow of the market. You can see it just below this red EMA here. So that's just another little feature on the indicator that shows a little bit of support or, well, can act as support or resistance. TP, That would be these orange dots with the TP. That's a take profit signal. When you see that, obviously a good idea to maybe at least starting to close part of a position, even if you want to let some run, which I love to do. I love getting into a bit of a scalp, being quick to take some profits on my scalp, but then hoping to catch a runner with, let's say, the other half of my position. I really like to do that, but it's nice when you have the indicator flashing at you like, hey, maybe take a little bit of profits here, maybe take a little profits here, because one of the hardest things to do, and I say this every video, I think, is one of the hardest things as a trader is to take profits. So I like how this indicator is so active in getting your attention and telling you when to do it. So the tops and bottoms, that would be these little blue triangles. You can see one up here. As a potential top there. We have bottoms here. So yeah, that's just those very small blue triangles there would be the tops and bottoms. Reversal warnings, that would be the orange dots with a W. You can see one here, for example, down here. This actually did a hell of a job calling those out. You can see every time we got a W back here. I mean, that's quite a beautiful feature in my opinion. I actually give a lot of credit to those W's because they seem quite often they are quite accurate. So let's check out some of the others. Trend exhaustion, that would just be the orange dots without any letters beside them. Stotch RSI divergences, that would be the big blue dots. I'm not sure if they actually show up on the 1 hour. Oh yeah, we got some on the 1 hour here. That would be the blue dots. On top, obviously they're being bearish because they're resistance up on top. Below, they're acting as support, so it's a bullish divergence. Probability calculator. I actually saw a question about this earlier in the indicator chat. Let's just wait for that to show up here. So the probability calculator, this gives us the percent chance that the current candle hits these targets. So yeah, obviously as you go onto longer time frames, there's going to be a higher percent chance that they hit these targets because obviously it has more time to play out. And each of these, I believe they're stepped 1% apart. Yeah, step percent 1. So obviously if you're in a 1 minute or a 5 minute, I mean, your targets are going to be, well, here, let's just go into a smaller time frame so I can show you quickly. Yeah, so obviously you have still have your high percentage of your immediate targets basically, but you can see that your percentage chance of hitting the next target drops drastically, and that's just because you don't have much time to actually make it that full percent move, right? Because from here to up here, that's 1% of a move. So obviously, yeah, not a huge chance that you're going to hit that. But for example, when you're on the 4 hour chart, obviously your chances are going to increase because you have a lot more time there. But the question was actually revolving around, I think that was the probability calculator here. Should show up in the top right. So this gives us our win rate. And I know I was misunderstanding this when I first got the latest updates for the indicator. I thought that these win rates, I thought this was based around the trade setups, which I will also get into in a little bit. But the win rate is actually based off of the probability calculator. So don't get those two confused. I'm just going to remove those. And actually, while I'm at it, this is just another thing, another beautiful thing here. You can see that this is one of the settings as well. MTF signal as well as trend. That's this box up here. This is just another one of those things with this indicator that I like, how you can be on any time frame, but you get a better look at the general overall market conditions. Just because it'll show you basically how it stands on the 4 hour, the 1 day, and the weekly. So that's also fairly cool if you like to keep track of that. I like to keep my charts fairly clean, so I get rid of a lot of the clutter. But trade setup, I think that's basically, well, that's a lot of people's favorite feature on these indicators. is just how it gives you basically an entry. It gives you the exact numbers for a nice entry, as well as gives you a stop loss, gives you your take profits 1, 2, and 3. So that's, you're looking at a 3-to-1 risk reward ratio there. So yeah, that will, anytime that it figures that it has a good trade setup, you can see that would have taken this one right about here. So yes, we have absolutely gone down since then. The stop still hasn't quite been hit, so that might actually be a perfectly placed stop if that is the case. So right now, for example, I mean, getting into a long position, I'm not saying to take a long, because I mean, obviously anything can happen. Do your own research, form your own opinions, but this is such a good risk reward ratio right now. If you were looking at just blindly taking this based on the indicators, I mean, you can look at this. We have a 1.28% loss, basically would be just below the stop loss. Whereas if you made it all the way to the third take profit, I mean, you're looking at almost 17%. So that's a huge risk reward ratio right there. Where, yeah, obviously that's a lot better than a 3-to-1 at that point. So very cool that you can, sometimes I do that. Like if I'm looking at an entry right now, for example, and the indicator's agreeing with me, if you can get in very close to that stop loss, I mean, obviously, even if you are wrong and you take that loss, it's going to be a lot softer than if you're, let's say you got in right at where it was saying to go long. Where was that? Right about here. You're looking at more like a 4.4% loss rather than that 1.2 or whatever it was. So, yeah, so a lot of people like this. I personally don't really like to use anything other than my own analysis when, as far as like when I'm picking an actual entry. I'm not going to blindly set an entry based on this. Obviously, it's great to look at and it can help people learn to trade, and absolutely it can be a great feature. I'm very impressed with the stuff that these indicators are capable of. But even when I want to pick my own entries, one thing that I really love about this, again, is the take profits. I appreciate these so much more than I actually appreciate the entry itself. Because again, if I get into a nice long position, let's say I did enter right now, and we end up pumping to these levels, there's a good chance I'm going to think I'm the smartest man in the world, and that since we broke these levels, that we're going to absolutely just skyrocket and hit those $28,000 predictions or whatever. But this indicator, this trade feature really helps to keep you grounded. It just flashes those take profits right in your face with very specific levels. So that can really just kind of help bring me back down to reality. So honestly, like I said, I appreciate the take profits with these indicators so much, because I think that's a very powerful thing. So many people are terrified to take profits, and it's very easy to get stuck in that mindset of just looking for a bigger trade. But in the end, looking for those home run trades doesn't always work out. So it's nice that this just keeps it in the back of your mind, take those profits. So again, does anyone have any questions about the indicators or anything? Have anything specific you want me to look at? I can start looking at some altcoins if that's the kind of thing you guys want to look at. I know you can't right now, but anybody looking at this on my YouTube channel when I'm no longer live, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. And actually, anybody in this live stream, if you aren't aware, I do have my own YouTube channel. Just in case you aren't able to make it to some of these sessions, or you show up late or whatever, I do post all of these in my YouTube channel, so feel free to hit me up there, add me there. And as well, follow me on Twitter. Sometimes I don't have time to make a video and I still want to post analysis or just share random things. So be sure to follow me on YouTube as well as Twitter. Just StuTube Trading, all one word, on both platforms. So looking at the MDX ALGO dashboard here, let's just take a look at the long to short ratio. So one thing to keep in mind now as well is that the longs are starting to climb a little bit. For quite a while there on that run up, we were seeing that retail was still quite short heavy, whereas that has actually began to flip the other way. So maybe people are actually starting to FOMO in now as we start trading towards these higher levels. The bears are starting to give up. So maybe, the fact that they are starting to long now means that maybe that is the liquidity we need for the market makers to start sending us to the downside a little bit. But we're going to have to see what happens. Have I ever tried using the trend confluence on a smaller time frame? How small of a time frame are we talking in the settings? Okay, first I'm just going to clean a few things up here. Let's just clean things right up here. And then, so on a shorter time frame, let's say hop over to the 5, or if I want to put it on the 15 EMA. So are you talking about having the trend confluence for the 15 minute, for example, but let's say trading on a 1 minute or a 5 minute chart? Because I usually have mine just on auto settings. So that means anything under a 1 hour chart, like a 5 minute, 15 minute, half hour, you're going to, with the auto settings, you're going to have the 1 hour trend confluence. That's that squiggly line once again. If I wanted to change that, like let's say right now, again, I'm on the 5 minute. Let's say I don't want the autos anymore. I could do the second trend confluence for the 15 minute, for example. And that has tightened it up a little bit. And yeah, so I don't know. I personally have just been using mine on auto settings, and I like a little bit longer time frame of a trend confluence. Even when I'm on the 5 minute, 1 minute, 15 minute, anything like that, I like to have at least the 1 hour. I haven't really played around with much else. So, I mean, for all I know, this could be extremely accurate, but that's where it's important to do your own back testing and that sort of stuff. Find out what works best for your trade style and what your eyes catch. But yeah, I usually just have mine on auto. Here, I've also turned off filter. Let's turn on the signals again. That's why it was looking a little silly. I just want to see how it looks with some signals here. So it's a little choppy there. So another nice thing that you can do with the newest updates is you can select filter, and that'll get rid of a lot of the chop. And that should just make it so that that actually went the exact opposite way that I thought it was going to there. I thought it was going to show us some strong short signals there. Obviously this one would have played out, but yeah, filter will basically make it so that the trend confluence and the current chart that you're on basically match up. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, I've never really back tested the 15-minute confluence like that. I always do the auto settings. Let's just see what the auto looks like. So yeah, you can see that this, I mean, at least for this little run, this has been a lot more accurate. So that, again, that squiggly line would be the 1 hour trend confluence, and I'm on the 5 minute chart. So, but that makes total sense just because obviously a longer time frame, you are going to get a little more weight carried behind the resistance or support. So it makes sense that, you know, the hourly trend confluence would be a little bit more accurate than the 15 minute. I assume it totally depends on market conditions. I mean, I'm sure there's some market conditions where it performs absolutely phenomenally the other way. And then, I don't know, just me personally, this is how I've always had mine set up. So, yeah, when it's running, that's the thing. When the trend confluence really gets running, I mean, you can see some crazy trends develop here. I know when we had these, obviously we were trending to the upside very aggressively, but man, just look at that. I mean, when you have the filter selected, and this is a 15-minute chart, but we have it with the 1 hour trend confluence. I mean, we were just getting strong long signals all the way up, and this was just I mean, played out absolutely phenomenally in a trending market like that. Now that it's getting a little more flip floppy, I think it's a little more likely now that we start testing a little bit lower. Gonna have to consider the strong and the long signals a little more carefully right now, as things are starting to flip like this. But yeah, like I said, right now it's flipped bearish here. Absolutely beautiful dump from that signal there. Just gonna look at some random shit coins here. Here's everybody. Everybody in the group is all hyped up on this tap, or what is it? XTP.
Yes.
This is the 4 hourly chart here. You can see we have the trend confluence catching up to the price a little bit. The thing with these coins, with these low market caps, there's such low trading volume that, I mean, this thing could dump right down to that in a matter of seconds and then get bought right back up. But that would be nice. I wouldn't mind having some fishing orders set down around that level. On top of that, we have these big green demand zones for taps, so that's absolutely beautiful.
Hi, Stu. I have a question here.
Sure.
Like, my question is, if we have a pullback from BTC right now, let's say 8% or 15% down, how do you see XTP?
Oh, that's a really hard one to say because generally speaking, I mean, if Bitcoin takes a pretty aggressive pullback, altcoins are going to get the shit kicked out of them. But the fact that they are such small cap coins, I mean, maybe the fundamentals or just the demand is there for them versus the selling. Like, the thing is, even if Bitcoin crashes, let's say people are only collecting tap. Let's say there's no sellers, for example, right? I mean, let's say that even if there's a lack of buyers, but nobody's interested in selling because they all think that it's going to go up another 100x or whatever, then obviously it doesn't have to follow Bitcoin. But generally speaking, I can see it pulling back quite aggressively if Bitcoin does. And I mean, if that happens, I mean, we could pull right back down to these levels down here, kind of. But we're gonna have to see.
Yeah, it's really difficult to trade small caps.
Yeah, there's just no volume there.
Yeah.
Like
another art, Ethereum, I have seen that it has BTC, Ethereum versus Bitcoin. It has a hold support and bounce from support, and I see really bullish right now Ethereum. Like I just entered a long. Yeah, I just entered a long like at 1,600, something like that. And it's really outperforming Bitcoin right now.
You said Ethereum is?
Yes. Yeah, that one.
Okay. Looks like it's getting a little bit of a bounce. Zooming right into the 5-minute. I guess, what time frame? If I go to a 4 hour here. We do have that trend confluence coming in versus Ethereum here. On the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart here. A few warning signs there, but we still do have this long signal. We have a demand zone down below. Things don't look horrible. Obviously, we're trading at resistance, but so just be a little careful moving forward. That's the thing, is the market is in such a delicate spot right now that it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen for a lot of things. Like, I do see the reason why we get a harsh rejection, just because we're trading at this resistance level that I'm pointing out, and we're starting to see those warning signs on the indicators. We got bearish divergences showing up. If I hop over to the weekly, this is actually the one that probably concerns me the most. for the health of the market in general, is that on the weekly chart here, we do have that reversal warning on the Algo 3, that orange W there. This has been a very accurate sign, signal in the past here. I mean, just anytime you can see it on this screen even. I mean, called the top amazingly there, called the bottom here very well. Here, even these very small corrections, I mean, those W's were very well placed. So the fact that I don't think this one has actually confirmed yet, because this weekly candle hasn't quite closed yet. It's going to be a few weeks yet, or sorry, a few hours rather. But it is looking to me like we might have a bit of a reversal point here coming up. So that's something I don't want to take too lightly. Those W's have got some large moves in the past, and the fact that it is lining up with the resistance level, that could be quite interesting. That being said, if we get this confirmed reversal warning and we just break higher anyways and break above this trend confluence, get above this lower high structure, I mean, then the market could be in a very, very good position, in my opinion, in that point. Oh, we're losing one. All right, have a good rest of your day there. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the chat. Yeah, what's everyone feeling about the market anyways? Are we all leaning more bearish, more bullish? What's everyone feeling these days? Worried about the dealer shorts.
Yeah. I'm worried about the S&P 500. But the daily close of that sell-off, it happened just before the close.
Yeah. Before here, where was I here? Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this weekly candle closes. Like, let's say in the next few hours, if it ends up closing a big engulfing bearish candle kind of below the previous candle here, I mean, that might be a little scary for the market. That being said, remember guys, we do have this downward sloping resistance line that might act as support now. So even if we pull back a little bit, we do still have so much support below us. I can't change my tune about that. I mean, when I look over at the daily chart, again, this red line that I made, let's flip that green because obviously it's support now at this point. But again, I just think that there is a lot of potential support below Bitcoin right now. So I think even if we do dump these levels, I mean, I think if we even drop this level, everyone's going to think that, you know, we're, again, those 14K, 10K targets and that kind of shit's going to be on the table again. And, you know, anything can happen. But I just think the fact that Bitcoin did trade sideways at this little bit and that downward sloping trend line, I think that we're not in that bad of a position. I think a little pullback to these levels would actually be a very good thing for the market. I really don't see us just blasting right through this resistance box without some kind of, you know, one test, maybe get another couple tests, you know, pull back, test it again, have a smaller pullback and just start building the pressure to the upside. I think that's absolutely a possibility. As far as the long-term trend goes, I think Bitcoin's still in a better position than a lot of people are thinking at this time. But again, it's so much more important to be able to react to the price than to predict it. Like, one thing that I would love to see at this point is actually pulling back towards this support level. Let's say getting another little bit of a fake out just so that we can confirm this support line is holding, and just getting into some kind of a long position at that level I think could be great. But again, I'm not setting blind orders. I generally don't set blind orders. I'm more, I'll place a trend line or an alert. Generally, I'll place a trend line, a horizontal line, or whatever, and I'll set an alert to go every minute until I pay attention to my phone or my computer or whatever. And I will watch how the market is reacting to those levels. I very rarely just blindly set long or short orders. With spot, I'm more likely to do that, but with leverage, I don't like to do that. I like to watch how things are reacting. Another random coin here. This is one that I was talking about in the Discord channel earlier. This is Big Data Protocol. Again, very small market cap. I think it's like 5 million or 7 million or something like that. The reason why this one's on my radar is I did see Income Sharks on Twitter talking about it. He was talking about the volume behind this project. So as far as low cap coins go, the trade volume, I believe it was actually more than the total market cap in a 24-hour trade period. So I mean, that's a lot of volume. So if this coin is able to blast through this resistance, I think there's going to be a lot of follow through just because there is so much volume there. Because I mean, as we were just talking about with trading TAP, for example, is damn near impossible because there's just not much volume there. You really just have to set your orders and wait for them to fill. It very often wicks up and down very aggressively, very violently. And I mean, this does too, just because things are so volatile on the small cap coins, but there is orders there to be filled, which in some of those other low cap coins, you're just not really seeing that. I mean, if you do a market buy or a market sell, you might be getting a drastically different price than what you think the price is at that time. So I don't know, the fact that this coin has so much volume behind it, I brought it up on CoinGecko here. You can see that what is it? The market cap 4.5 million and the 24-hour trading volume is 4.2 million. So that's pretty crazy in my opinion to see so much trading volume there. So I would love to see this thing break out. And again, it's not even that it has a crazy total supply that's way higher than the circulating supply. Actually, some of these numbers are a little different if I go on CoinMarketCap. The market cap's actually higher here, and the circulating supply is higher as well. So I'm not sure, one of these might be a little bit outdated. Maybe CoinMarketCap is more up to date here. So the market cap might be a little bit higher, but again, same thing. That volume is over 4 million. So for such a small market cap, either way, that's something that I kind of wanted to pay attention to. I always look at these small cap coins as such a gamble, so I don't put any serious weight behind them. But yeah, that's one that I've been interested in watching the last little bit. I bought a little bag the other day, but nothing crazy, like I said. Pretty crazy actually on the daily for this chart here. And I know I pointed this out in the Discord too. If I turn on the MDX ALGO 3, look at that long signal. Just absolutely nailed it. If we go from where that candle closed, even if you just held this, held a spot position from that daily open to daily close, that's over a 230% pump to the upside. After 2 days, you're up around 400%. I mean, this thing just absolutely exploded from that signal. So the indicator noticed this way before I did, that's for sure. Very, very impressed by that call. And that's actually making me want to start looking at a lot more small cap coins, just altcoins in general, is starting to kind of look at what the indicators are saying and just see if I've missed, I'm sure I've missed a ton of these signals already, but kind of thinking about going and doing a little altcoin adventure and just looking at a lot of charts one of these days and seeing what the indicators are saying. Because, man, some of those are just absolutely beautiful calls. So just catching up on the chat on the side here in the Discord. Yeah, and that's the thing, Lord Drake, is that's one thing that I was looking at is AI seems to really be the hype lately. I mean, what is it, ChatGPT or whatever the hell it's called? All that AI stuff just is really in everybody's conversation right now. People are just loving the AI. So as far as looking for smaller altcoins, that is kind of the area that I was interested in starting to build little positions in. So the fact that not only that, I think they just had a big update or a launch or something like that, and as well with all that volume, like that's kind of why I'm interested in this project a little bit, and obviously just because it's such a small market cap, just in case it blows up. So that's kind of what I was looking at. But yeah, I think there's so much hype around AI this market cycle so far, just even the last month or two. That definitely something that I'm interested in. AI tokens most understood this to be a pump. That was said 2 weeks ago. AI tokens RLC, AGIX, FET, UMB, Ocean, and GRT have performed very well. Yeah, let's take a look at some. Let's look at Ocean, for example. I know I was holding Ocean last market cycle for a little bit. It performed quite well. Wow, this is absolutely, yeah. Oh, this is on a daily. That's absolutely huge as well. How much has this pumped? Let's say even from there. Yeah. Okay, so not as much percentage as that last one, but it's a lot more established coin here. Let's say right from the bottom. It's pumped over 260%. That is huge. And look at these demand zones that the Algo 3 indicator is showing. Yeah, these just, wow, this chart looks absolutely beautiful. Look at this breakout we had. I mean, yeah, basically when we broke these lows, created a lower low, an even lower low. Here would have been our lower high, and we obviously broke that, flipped it into support, and just absolutely blew off to the upside. Now we have the 3-day trend confluence here as support as well. Just like I said, all these demand boxes. Wow. Yeah, that's quite the trend. What do we got? Do we have any obvious trend lines? Be interested in watching support, kind of something like that. I mean, this is obviously a fairly straight shot directly upwards. So, I mean, there could be a harsh correction at some point, but this is looking pretty good. There, again, just like Bitcoin, is even if we do pull back on a lot of these altcoins like this, I mean, the structure of the chart is just so much different now. The fact that we broke above, these highs back here, even these highs here, well, you can see that here. If I make a line right there, that's even where we retested, where we got this demand zone here. I mean, we perfectly retested that old resistance from back here as support. So, yes, things look a little overextended, but in the grand scheme of things, that's still fairly healthy price action, in my opinion. It's at least respecting some sort of technicals. It's not just out of nowhere pump or anything like that. Very cool. Let's get into some shorter time frames here. Oh, just demand zones all over. Look at this indicator calling these strong signals. Oh, man. Yeah, like talking about this earlier with the Algo 3. I mean, when you get into a trending market like this, I mean, and you have the filter settings. Like I said, I have the trend confluence too with filter and auto settings. So it's not giving you a bunch of the chop. It's only giving you the long side signals right now. I mean, man, if you were buying every time that this thing went off, you would be just laughing right now. That is incredible. Let's see what some shorter time frames are doing. What's the hourly look like? I mean, I assume it's all going to look very, very similar with a lot of green. That's wild. Yeah, I don't know, you guys. This really... I understand the thought of, like, I don't want to say bull market on, for example, but this is, at the very least, a very nice bear market rally. And, I mean, I think that there is room to go. I think the corrections are going to be there, but I think there is going to be some fuel left in the tank after a bit of a pullback if we get one. I don't think we've topped out quite yet. There's just so much health in the markets. There's too much confidence in altcoins. Like, this doesn't look like a scared market to me, you know? Let's dive right into everyone's favorite. Let's get into the 5-minute charts here. Just like, look at that. Even the 5-minute. You guys know on the Discord, I'm always pointing out that I love getting entries around or right at the 1 hour trend confluence, basically. And man, just look at how well this was respected here on a 5-minute with Ocean here. Just absolutely nailed it. Anytime that we get this bearish flip on the hourly trend confluence with a lot of different trade pairs, it's very quick to trend or flip back to bullish. It's been like that for quite a while now. But yeah, cool to see. A lot of excitement in altcoins right now. Holy smokes. All right. Well, we are getting close to an hour here. I might start thinking about wrapping things up here. Actually, one other thing I wanted to take a peek at. Let's hop over to the MDX Algo dashboard here. I wanted to hop over to the Legend Fund since a lot of you guys here with me are in this as well. Just taking a quick peek at the current Legend board here. This is another thing to keep in mind about these indicators. For those of you here with me live right now, as well as people who may be just kind of considering trying out these indicators, there's also this little bonus Legend board with the community, which is basically a fantasy portfolio league, if you want to call it that. It's on the MDX Algo dashboard. Totally free for the MDX community. Just a fun little game, but it actually does have cash prizes. You can see, depending what place you get, there is actual prizes. So pretty cool there. I have decided that I'm going to start doing some giveaways on my channel moving forward if I win this. Just some sort of like, retweet, follow, random draw type of thing. I figured it would probably help my channel grow, and also a lucky winner would end up getting a little extra walking around money, and it also gives the Legend community a second chance at the prize money if I do happen to win. I know I won last month, so just moving forward, I was thinking of doing that. That'll just be a good way to give back to the community as well. So far I'm in first place on the monthly as well. So this is just totally a fun little thing that we're doing, but it's pretty crazy, like getting first for the month, that's $120. I mean, that's a lot more than what it costs to be in this group for a month anyways. So yeah, pretty cool that you can basically pay for these indicators off by themselves just by getting involved with the community and doing this kind of stuff, at least if you play your cards right. So yeah, anyways, like I said, I'm going to be doing some giveaways moving forward whenever I make money in these Legend boards. So make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel as well as my following me on Twitter. So be on the lookout for that as well. Yeah, so anyways, friends, obviously none of this has been financial advice. Always do your own research, always form your own opinions, do your own back testing, that sort of stuff. But if you appreciated this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. If the indicators I use interest you... Oh, I'm hearing people. Is there someone else who has anything? Oh, maybe it was just a little bit of feedback. My bad. But anyways, guys, if the indicators I use do interest you, there's a referral link down below for a 15% discount. And like I mentioned, that also gets you into the private MDX Discord and the Legend board, which can actually pay for itself if you play your cards right, like I was mentioning. So with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.